All right. Welcome everybody to day 45 and possibly 46 and possibly more of season 1 Code to Freak stream. So long break if you follow these as they come out. If you're following them like a year after they've come out, no break for you. So the last time we pretty much finished the rig in terms of like we've added so we got bindings, the geometry is bound, all the controls are working and all of that. It kind of snuck up on me, to the point where you go like, all right, are we actually done? I mean, it's there's no telling whether there might be bugs or not. Like, it's very possible that we'll need to actually go back to the rig itself. But I don't think that, we need to add anything. And we've talked about a bunch of things about, separating the rig and the bindings and the geo and all of that. We got the rig itself, or the puppet, whatever you want to call it, or the mechanical part, working. We got a geometry, it's been bound. Now, live, that was left with a little bit of stuff to do, like one of the legs wasn't bound or anything like that, but all of the work to get one of the legs and I think the body bound was done live. Then what I've done is I've cleaned it up, just the bindings themselves. The skinning in this case is the only binding we have between geometry and the control rig itself. And then I've published the scene. So if you go, and I should have probably opened that page earlier, but if you go on codetofreak.com and you go in the resources page and then to season 1 downloads, and I'll bring it over here. So codetofreak.com, resources, season 1 download, day 45 rig scenes zip. You can find the cleaned up rig that I'm starting from. It had been a long while, actually. I had not realized until I did this how long ago it was since I last published a scene. This is American date because WordPress. So it was May. Anyway, we're there now. Well, I appear to actually have been published, more or less, like every 2 months for the last few months. Anyway, so that's the scene that I'm starting from, and what we are gonna do today is very, very slightly different than usual. So I have a bit of time on my hands this morning. I'm offsetting my workday, so I'm probably gonna stream for like at least a couple hours, and I'm gonna be recording shorter episodes. Basically, the stream is gonna be continuous, but I am gonna start and stop the recording several times, maybe 2 or 3 times, and I'm gonna try and keep the episodes slightly shorter than usual. So if you watch them on YouTube, like if you are watching on YouTube right now, these will not be quite like the other episodes where they can go on for like an hour and 15 minutes, and then there could be anywhere between 5 and 20 minutes of Q&A and ramblings. So that's it for the long intro, and that's what we got here. Now, the next step for these, and the next thing that I want to talk about, is for these to have some animation. So what we want to get to, which is the natural conclusion of this season for me, is profiling this rig. We're probably not going to optimize it because there's not going to be a ton to optimize. We might find threading choking if we had multiple of these on the expressions maybe, and replace them with the node that I've done for Patreon, and the source code is free for the IK, but I suspect that's pretty much it. I mean, there's not a ton we could optimize. It's such a small and lean rig anyway. But knowing how to use the profiler, that's something that I definitely want to show in this season, because it is very, very pertinent to control rigs, which have been the focus of this season. Now, to do that, I think there's one further distinction that anybody who's been listening to me at work or in person for like the last few years has heard me like harping on about for like well over a decade at this point, which is the way I see rigs. I've often compared them to software on the stream. Is much like software, it is natural for rigs to have an authoring stage and a consumption stage, right? And I know, like, this is, you know, I haven't heard anybody saying I hate the idea or it doesn't make sense. I mean, some people might squint a bit, some people might not quite get it, but most people I found respond well to the idea. So if you look at something like software and you find, I think, many analogies in any workflow, what you have is an authoring stage. And in the authoring stage, you normally produce something like source files, you know, and they might be however many. And then you will produce something like, whoa, I can do this. Something like a build script or build system. And that might be, you know, another bunch of files or whatever. Then you could have, you know, specifications. And you could have tests that help you with things. And you could have a bunch of things. Anyway, I think you get the idea. Now, what happens with that is that normally a couple of things happen with that stuff. And I'm leaving pipeline completely out of it, right? So asset tracking and communicating what the asset is about, what a new version is, what a revision is for, and stuff like that. That's pipeline, right? It's the versioning of files and coordinating the consumption of files and communicating information that pertains to the consumption of files. That is pipeline. That is not really rigging, so not gonna go into it. Build systems themselves, kind of DevOps, they still apply to rigging probably to some extent, but we're gonna look at something else. So what normally happens from something like this is that the build file then goes and informs some sort of build process, surprisingly. Then something like spec and tests might contribute to informing something like a continuous integration process. So if you come from development, you probably heard of CI and or CD, continuous integration and continuous delivery. If you haven't, you don't really need to worry too much about it. It just means that basically tests or other automated procedures are run all the time on the code so that you know what the health of the code base is. Then if this succeeds and if CI, whether you have it or not, you know, this might be a no step, succeeds or not, then what happens is that you generate artifacts. Right? So you have a section here that is artifacts. So if you are, and these artifacts could be bundled. So if you are developing softwares, you know, if this was C++, you might have, in Windows, you might have DLLs or SO files or both. They might come with, you know, with symbols for some necessities. Whatever, but these are normally binaries, right? So if you're using Python, you might be distributing PYD files for bindings, you might be distribute some lookups, you might be distributing PYC files, you might be distributing the PYS row, the Python script itself, so that people can hook debugging and so on. But you're still distributing things, and very often you will bundle these together, give them a name of some sort, you know, it's gonna be some tool or whatever, then you're gonna version it, and that's the pipeline part, right? Naming something, stashing it in a specific place so that from the name you can retrieve the right thing, and having multiple snapshots over time. That's the pipeline part. So that's the tangent that we're not gonna take, okay? But dividing the authoring files, dividing the source, producing multiple parts, bundling them together so that they can be consumed appropriately, especially if you have multi-part, multi-resolution or things like that. That is definitely part of rigging. I mean, if your rigging standards are not up to scratch, you're gonna have a horrible time doing that. So at a minimum, in rigging, I strongly believe, even if you elide or omit or do manually these steps, that you do have artifacts. And let's say for the sake, okay, that happened. For the sake of, you know, conversation, for the sake of these videos, that our artifacts are gonna be separating the rig, the geometry, and the bindings. And this is common when maybe you have multiple resolutions for the geometry, multiple resolutions for the rig, and they need to come together. And the bindings are that table of options that include them together. We're not gonna do multivariate, we're not gonna do multi-resolution or anything like that. It's too complex. It's like, even at work with a lot of time, it's often taken me a very long time to explain and formalize everything regarding those. But at a minimum, that separation of the assets, I think we can treat, okay? And the way we can do it is basically what we've been doing insofar is, you know, control rig, and we're gonna say that we're also gonna have geometry, which is the thing that we receive from modeling. If you look at the previous episodes, I think 2 episodes ago, tempted to say 44, I talked a fair bit about how the bindings work, and you know, the glue between these two elements is gonna be the bindings. We're not gonna version these or name these. We just want to ensure that we can produce these things separately. These are the artifacts. Then again, it's more of a pipeline matter than anything. You might have something like the shot inventory, you know, a shot description of sorts that says, oh, I'm working on shot such and such, of movie such and such. It includes character A, character B, you know, it includes Mickey Mouse and Goofy or whatever. I want them at this resolution, whatever. That will point to files, either bundles or one or more files that get combined. But again, that's pipeline, so we stop there and we go like, okay, we want to ensure that this can, to some extent, be consumed separately. So what we're gonna focus on is, we'll say this is gonna be somewhat magic. You know, we're gonna let Maya do a lot of this work maybe, and go like, we're gonna do late stage bindings and it's just gonna be a file maybe, but we might not even get there. It doesn't really matter all that much. But at a minimum, we want the control rig to come out as its own, so that the consumer, which is normally the shot, it's the animator working on the shot, can actually use a, you know, some Maya mechanism like referencing. The consumer can go, okay, from the shot inventory plus Maya's referencing as a mechanism, can consume that control rig without bringing in bindings and geo, doing them late. I think that's an interesting thing enough that we want to show the idea of it, and we might not finish it, it doesn't matter. So to do something like that, it means that you can't just save a scene and toss a scene like across the fence. I've already shown how the standards that we've established allow us to so we want this control rig to basically be able to be, we'll use a simple MA or MB file, same thing really, that can be referenced. That's not gonna contain these parts, okay? It's gonna be just the control rig. I've already shown how it is very easy for us to export just components. I've done that manually, many times by basically just selecting everything in the DAG for something. So let's say for the God node, we could select all of that, then do something like open the node editor, and because we're really clean about how we're going about things, selecting things and exporting them. So okay, been a while since I've done this, so I need to sort of remap my brain. So what we will be doing is open something like this, and we could trust, because we've done the input output bindings thing, not bindings as in we've been discussing deformation bindings, the input output boundaries. We've been diligent. We can basically manually go, okay, I got that stuff, and by the way, you need to do it the other way around. Oh, it's doing the thing where it's not showing my selection windows. I hate that. Anyway, you can do that, and you can export the component, and we could do these for everything that we have in the rig, and that basically ends up being our control rig. Again, control rig, Puppet, you might hear me using those interchangeably. They are the same thing. In some companies you hear them called puppets, in some companies the puppet is the whole thing, in some companies the rig is the puppet, and there is another name for the thing with the geometry and the deformers attached, doesn't matter. So there's actually a little bit of audience, which given the time and the fact that it's prohibitive for Europe is surprising, but really cool. Does this make sense up to this point? Does that set the stage properly? I'm out of coffee, which makes me sad. But audience, help me out. We're about 50 minutes in, and I think I got like a full 20-30 seconds of lag from the chat now. Chat, help me out. In the meantime, I'm gonna keep moving on a little bit. Now, the other thing, and that's gonna be the end of this intro, I guess, if it's an intro, preface or whatever, is to do something like that. That's where you do want to pull in some scripting. This is the kind of stuff that you should be tooling up for. Now, from the beginning, I say that, you know, at least for the pilot season, and then I say the same thing for season 1, I don't want scripting or programming to be mandatory to be able to obtain the rigs. That is still true. I mean, I've just discussed how to do these things manually. We've done a subset of these manually all the time until now. But we haven't done a scripting stream in quite a while, so I also wanted to do one of those. And I need to procure myself an export that can then be referenced. Once I have an export that can be referenced, I can reference that in, and that is a valid benchmarkable item, plus I could probably animate it. And I don't know if I will be streaming the animation. Ideally, somebody will come forward and go like, hey, I'm gonna animate that for you. Now, the last thing that I'm gonna say about that is that you want to reach this stage, and you want to tool so that you can constantly reach that stage very, very quickly. Because when you test and profile your rig, it should be tested and profiled in context. So if you have steps in here that can run some sort of optimization on the rig, and you know, and that's the one that gets published, you shouldn't be profiling for, you know, your final performance passes a rig that is different than what animation will receive. And debugging is a different thing, like, you know, making sure that things work and, you know, correcting mistakes and so on. You can do it on a relatively slow rig, but the profiling should be done on the final product. So that's why, you know, we need to do these. We need to get a little bit more, like a little bit closer to the animation context, to the consumption context, if you will, to be able to do profiling. So chat is actually, like, for a few viewers, but chat is pretty quiet, so I'm gonna assume that that was all pristine and clear, and move on. I don't think I've forgotten anything here, so we are gonna get on to the scripting part, which I am awfully unprepared for. So what I am gonna do for the scripting side of things, like normally, I think in the past you see me like either like hashing things out in here, you know, as quickly as possible, I guess, or I've sometimes used PyCharm. Now I actually quite like PyCharm, and I've already explained why, but the remote debugging features are not freely available, and recently I've been doing I haven't written Python for Maya in a long time, so this might be a complete disaster. But normally, like recently, I've been using Python, but more R than Python. A lot of Verilog, which is a hardware description language. Well, C++ daily, pretty much. So basically, I've had to cave into Visual Studio Code for things that are not C++ on Windows. So I'm gonna be using that. And I did set it up to remote debug and all of that, which will be convenient, but I did not set up files that I would want to use. So let me do that. And what's our naming convention here? We got, for now, I'm just gonna do a few snippets to discuss the things we want to do. And I say this is day 46. And the first thing we'll want to do is probably iterate components, I guess, and find input and output. So we're just gonna call these snippets for now. Okay, now the next thing, let's see if I can get these to work right away. Are you gonna be giving me grief here? Because I want to copy the name, but it's not giving me. Nah, it's not selecting it. This is starting well. SO1 Day046 yada yada. So I say SO1 D046 snippets PY. And the way I've been doing the debugging is pretty much garden variety remote serving. Like, you can find a million ways to do it. What have I been using? I've been using these. So okay, these are my general snippets for now. This is horrifying. You should not be doing these exactly as I'm doing it. I might at some point maybe do a video on, it's the opposite of the Visual Studio series. Like, instead of being about, you know, how do you understand and do these properly, it's gonna be like the most horrifying way to very quickly get a debugger attached to Maya. So this is a try that should be failing. So I want to, and it should be referencing file names. As snippets will do. So PTVSD is basically something that opens up a server and a port. You might need admin privilege. Well, you almost certainly will need admin privileges if you're in Windows to run it. And it basically opens up a port on wherever you run it. So in the Python interpreter on Maya for listening. And then you can choose to redirect the output as well. I'll show what that means. Then you want to add the path to the file itself. At least in this horrifying way where like that I am using. So please select these, thank you. Reveal and Explorer, and I want these somewhere else. This is what I was saying, but I should have set these up before. But hey, maybe it gives you inspiration for doing some horrifyingly dirty things the way I am being doing them. So that's gonna go in dev. This is, if you see my repos, there's nothing secret. You don't get to hack me for seeing these. This is pretty much one-to-one from the account that I use for Code to Frig. Do I want Maya? Yeah, I do want Maya in there. I do regret some choices. So from sys import path, like, you should be adding that path. Don't love the fact it's gonna be called Maya. If I do it like that, won't it? It will. Oh well, it'll be what it'll be. So it'll append that to the sys path, and then from there it should be able to fetch by name, I assume, as, let's see. Then you should be able to do reload snippets. This might or might not work. No module name, SO1 snippet. I know I have been asking you to append for that. So where is that error? Let's see. I'm probably appending this to the path multiple times this way. Unexpected indent. Why would that be an unexpected indent? Okay, so the path has worked. Then a little bit of hacking here. For x in sys.path. Okay, I did not have sys, did I? That's why. So this has been okay. I should be able to pop the thing that I added twice. So if chat is, will the stream end up on YouTube or Patreon? It will end up on YouTube. It's part of the normal streams. So like nothing that's necessary for work on this rig, or you know, that's got anything to do with season 1, will end up on Patreon. Patreon is 100% optional and nothing else. That's always been the stipulation with the viewers. So now, so that might have loaded this as Maya has it. So it might work as, because it's added that as the path, it probably added that as the token. You can tell I haven't been doing like Python like this way for a long time. Let's see if that works. No module name Maya. So why is this not? This is not starting well. Why is this not being added to the modules? I forget this crap. Let me see. So any recent Pythonistas that are not over 1 year rusty as I am, remember these off the top of their head and are in chat and willing to talk to me? Let me know. Otherwise, see, honestly, I would have expected these to just work if I append these. Like, appending to path like this should add to the Python path, as far as I know. So, do not like these. Path append should only go to season 1, I think. Otherwise, you're trying to import relative to Maya. That's by appending 1 level too deep. You might be right. But the thing is, this will create something called Maya capital K. So, but unless, oh no, I'm an idiot. It's actually even simpler than that. So here's a funky thing. I do not have an init in there. That's why it's not recognized as a module. See, that's how rusty I actually am. Okay? That is how horrifyingly rusty I am. Now I know why. So what I'm gonna do is actually create a module in there called snippets, and I'm doing that by creating a directory, right? $5 says it's both. Yeah, probably is both. And in there, so let me show that. So what I actually need, like if you want something to be a Python module like that, again, that tells you how rusty I am. You need this file to exist in there. That is how bloody rusty I am. Now the Maya thing will get to here, so that should still be enough. Now, so this is resident and I don't need it. So from snippets import. Now I want the file in there as well, obviously. So this one for now is gonna go in there. See, when are you sure you want to move? Yes, move it. If I drag something like that, obviously I want to move it. Don't be pedantic. It's probably a good warning, actually. From snippets, import these as snips. Let's see if that works. No module name snippets. I might need to refresh something. This is not painful at all. So plugin snippets. I'm not with you, Ryan. I'm not. I think if you swap, you will know better. Because I would have expected, now that snippet says the PY, I would have expected it to deal with it. But this is, okay, no, I'm... Let's see. Did I capitalize it, by the way? Yes. No module name snippets. No module name snippets. This is like beyond silly and painful. Take snippets of the path of your pending. Like that was without it before, so that part is already in there. So that is already there. Take snippets of the path you're pending. Do I need an init inside my as well? Tell me it's not that ridiculous. I probably do, don't I? I am disliking these, but... I probably do need that. Okay, so it's just showing me the path. Let's see. Let's remove that and let's see if it will scan. No module name snippets. I am disliking these profoundly. This is the worst stream ever. So I got the path to Maya. What is wrong with these? If we're going for really stupid, maybe it's to have a trailing slash. Yes, it's... No, it's not Maya actually. I think you're right. That is probably it. So pop that. But snippets was without, but then it was fair enough. Yeah, you're probably right. So path append Maya, improve snippets, no module name snippets. I hate your guts. Will I have register Maya? No. Try appending it to awesome var and Python path. Add it to the end because that's a path separated thing. This is literally how I was doing something yesterday. It should have scanned the path. Like, so it probably like it's on Maya restart or something. I don't know, but yeah. So the awesome var and Python path, like it's sure it will be used. This is the worst stream ever. I might edit this part out. Anyway. So this is just gonna add to the Python path for the scanning. Real quick, double check that OS path exists. Scheiße. There you go, typo. See, it is that stupid. Nope. So let me double check that. maybe it dislikes. I mean, it shouldn't dislike. What do you reckon, typo? It was a typo, God knows where. Anyway. So what was this? Like 10 minutes of fumbling around? Thank you. I knew it couldn't have been the Python figure. I know there's no way that's an actual environment variable. Thank you. Thank you very much. So let's close this set chapter. I'm probably gonna leave these in. So let's save. Whoops. So let's pop 3. Can you pop multiple in this path? Script balls. God knows what I've done there. Don't care. So remove that, append these, print these. Okay, I'm sorry for. Oh, actually, I could have made this larger anyway. So that is cool. All right. That wasn't necessarily painful. Found equals false. Found equals true. Can probably break. If not found, append. Should probably get a constant for that, but whatever's. Sorry, silence here because I don't want to mess these up again. Found equal true. Learn pop today. Okay. Oh yeah, I'm not talking about the things I'm doing. Sorry. I mean, I'm not gonna discuss like, you know, programmery things, I guess. But that one. Had I mentioned anything in those regards before? Who knows? So let me move these to a location where I actually have a proper text editor. Now that we have something slightly better than the abomination that I did there. Okay. I'm not gonna edit this stream. I mean, a stream is, you know, there's supposed to be mistakes and stuff in there. Like, it's not supposed to be just perfection. Otherwise, I produce edited content. Now, hopefully the mistakes were obvious. There was a typo in the path, which is, you know, why it was bugging out. I knew the mechanism was supposed to be sound. Because the path, okay. I knew the mechanism was supposed to be sound because I'd used it like very shortly before. So I was pretty stumped about that stuff, and now this is fine. So let me zoom this in a bit. But yeah, typo in there mess things up, and even if there were no typo in there, you need an underscore init underscore dot py or pys in a folder for Python to accept that it's a module, and if it's found, it will be executed when that module is imported. Now, other than that, sys.path is actually a list, and the linter here is telling me that I am making a boo-boo, and that is true. It should be just path in this case. Don't even need to call it, do I? I mean, I don't know why I did that, because path in this case is literally just a list. Now, if you have anything that is a stack, or anything that has an end, basically, it's common to say append will put something at the end of whatever you have, a queue or a stack or whatever. Pop will remove that whatever it is. And some APIs, you'll find that pop with a number will pop like the last row, go pop, pop, pop. In Python, no, it probably pop like the third item on the list or something like that. So might be equivalent to a deleted index. As I said, you know, I haven't been using Python 2.7 in Maya in a long time, and I think it shows. So what do we have here? Now, what this is doing is trying to import something, and if it doesn't find that something, which we're gonna have to rename now, this should be a failure. This is a pretty bad idea. I mean, as I say, this is super janky normally. At minimum, if you do something like this, you want to accept specifically, not accept everything as I'm doing. So if this is a failure, then we assume that PTBSD, which is the remote debugging server for Python I'm using, is not on. These can be run however many times you want. It has no leakage or anything, so it doesn't really matter if this is repeated many times. You could even make it the start of your script. And it's what it's doing is basically saying, hey, run PTBSD, enable an external attachment. The address, like this is your local host. You could have local host, you could have a remote machine, whatever in here. This is the port, which, you know, like the 3000 is the default. This might ask for admin, by the way. And redirect output means that it will actually, when you're in the debugging mode, it will redirect output to the output here. Now, the other thing that's going on here is, come on, no? Okay. I need a path that I want to append. If that module isn't found, then from system it imports path, and you don't want to add the same path over and over. So it's, you know, it's fairly like, I could do the last path, but if something added afterwards, that would be invalid. So you want to search for that path, and if what you want to add is not found, then you add that, which is what is going on here. So path append kpath, AOL was scanning, that's fair enough. Then just the print to inform us of what is going on. Then if all of these ordeal has gone well, then I might want something easier. And that is how I get to the file. Now, this was supposed to take like 5 minutes. It did not go well. So, don't even need this import here, really. I assume nothing is going to be called snips anyway, but that's an undefined variable. And that import should use the cache anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Like, let's use Python. Let's let Python cache deal with that. So this seems like it will do what I've expected it to do all along. So, and I've been raging against Python for a while now, so I don't even feel too embarrassed about this, to be honest. So let's run that. Okay. Now, what that should have done is basically running whatever I need to run. Again, this was supposed to take like 5 minutes. It's taken 10, setting up the environment. Say thank you. Close the init, close the init. So now I finally have snippets in here, and I can do something. So let's do something very, very simple to show what we are gonna be doing. Now, you might also see some errors because what I'm doing is I've actually put the Python 3.7 linter and hooked it to the Maya Python 2.7 interpreter so that if I write any Python, even if it's for Maya, it's Python 3 compatible. So some things like in example, I think for x in x range 20, like this is valid in Python 2.7. Let's see if it works. I would expect this to error with the linter. No, it's not the way it's set up now. Anyway, ignore that. It might error in some executions in the linter running for me. But yeah, it should log at least a few of the Python 3 specific things that will not be an issue in Python 2.7, and you can add linters that are specific for, you know, linting your code so that it can be migrated so that you don't do something like this, which is legal in Python 2, but, you know, not gonna work in Python 3. Anyway, so this should also log out to the output. Now, the way this should work is if I save these, attach a debugger to Python remote attach. Now, without breakpoints, the output of these problems, undefined variable path, undefined variable is one snippet. Really? I'm not sure what you're going about here. Oh, okay, yeah, whatever. Don't really need these anyway. Undefined variable reload. This might be point in case. This might be reload module. Is this deprecated in Python 3.7? Probably, yeah. It's supposed to be done through the module. Anyway, there you go. So the output here, I don't care about that. The output here should, if everything went well, go. So snips.test should work. Did I call it just test? Yes. So running that, and let me get a double thingy. No module name so1 Day046 snippets. That's fair enough. This is never ending, is it? All right, so I know that I'm gonna stop this stream after, like, once this is running, I'm gonna call these, not the stream, sorry, stop this recording here, and then start the next episode. I am glad I'm doing a long stream because these took a lot longer than I thought it would. Snippets gain. So now I should have called this something else, but we'll move it later. So the name will be that, but the module name is going to be different. So because it's going to that and should be finding that, it should be from snippets like that, import that file as snips. So same here. It bothers me that from import snippet as snips. It sort of bothers me that it's flagging this reload and not that one. I wonder if I have another mistake in there, which should be obvious to me, but for some reason isn't. Okay, so it's saying, okay, reloading, this is a test, that's great. Now what should have also happened is if redirect output is true, it should have redirected it here. Does not seem to be the case, but we do not undefined variable reload, whatever. Now the next thing to do, okay, because there's no debugger attached, I had detached it. Cool, so now it's attached again. It's saying main thread and thread 1. These are like, this is the call stack going for. I expect that to be basically the thread for the 270 Maya. Let's see. So let's clear that and let's run it again. So it's printing there. It is not printing here. So the next thing again will be put a breakpoint and print something else. Anything will do. And let's see if that breakpoint is respected. Yes, it is. So this thingy here, you know, it's like showing me the call stack and everything. That means that Maya has lost control and I have control. Okay. So, and from here, I should be able to advance the debugger until it's done, and then it will relinquish control back to Maya. So the other thing that should be happening is that, yeah, Maya should be unresponsive now until the debugger relinquishes control, and then Maya should become responsive again. It's taken a while to reattach. It's like Python is Python, right? It's not fast. Okay. Whoa! That was more work than I wanted it to be, but yeah. What can you do? So I reckon I'm gonna code this stream something like setting up a Python environment, which is totally not what I wanted to do. I wanted to do a separate video for that. So I call this episode. I don't know if I said stream again. Stop this recording here while this slightly embarrassing episode, you know, is kind of come to a conclusion and we can write scripts and then start recording again. So if you're watching this on YouTube, the next one is going to be the interesting stream. I will make sure that in the post I say, look, there's about 30 minutes of fumbling that you might want to skip. I'm not going to do editing magic. So if you're watching this on YouTube, thank you very much for watching. If you're watching it on stream, we are not stopping. I am just stopping the recording and starting it again. But if you're on YouTube, I'll see you in the next episode.